All right, so I got to give you a little backstory on us. Like we've been really like we've known Black and Smoke for over 10 years now. I'm really cool with Magoo. We've interviewed Genuine a lot of times, and like your group is one of those groups that we've heard about, but we don't really know too much about. So we really want to just get into the history and learn a little bit more about you, and just talk about some of that music that you guys have created and you guys are still creating. So I mean, I got to get started from the very beginning. I read you guys you guys started out in Rochester. So just talk about like the early beginnings of the group.
Well, Black and Wild, we always been a church group, and back in the '90s, we was a gospel quartet. And when Jodeci came and brought the Bassment up to Rochester, we was one of the well-known groups in the city. So while they was up there recording the after party, the show, the hotel, a lot of people in our town was like, yo, y'all should go to try to get down with Devante. And pretty much that's what we did. I mean, we kind of did it a different way because at that time they had a party, a New Year's Eve party, and they only invited females. So what we did was we sent a lot of females down to the party with our demo. You know what I mean? Our demo ended up getting into the hands of Stevie J. And initially we was getting down with Clownin', which was Dalvin's and KC's label. So we went down that song for Dalvin and Stevie J. During that time we was, other artists like Genuine, because we were still doing shows in the town and stuff like that. And it got up to a point where Devante was pretty much interested in hearing us. He walked in the studio while we was kind of chilling with Dalvin and Stevie J, and he heard us sing, and he was just like, who these cats? And from there, it became a thing where he wanted to see if we wanted to be involved with the Bassment. And at that time, Player was the male group, and you had Sugar. And we got kind of down at the beginning of the split, if that makes sense. You know what I'm trying to say? And and when I say it was like when Timberland and them was like kind of leaving Wild incidents during that time. We was the group that up front for the whole Def Jam. We the one who went and sung for Russell Simmons to get that whole Def Jam and Love You Down, all that money that Deke and Devante got from Russell. We went and sung up front song for Russell Simmons. So we the one that initiated that deal. And Def Jam wanted to sign us, but a Player had been down with Devante the longest, so they kind of had seniority over. So Devante kind of ended up giving Def Jam Player, you know what I mean? Because he wanted to keep us. He wanted to keep us for the label. You know what I'm saying? His label. So we pretty much started owning our craft, and before you know it, we became the kind of the frontline group. You know what I mean? Behind Sugar, of course, Sugar had the seniority of us, but we became the frontline group, and we eventually Devante walked us into Interscope, and during that time, Interscope got bought out by A&M, and we fell in like a lot of transitional labels. Like, you know what I'm saying? Black and Wild has always gave the labels a hot album, but because of the business and how the business go, we end up getting caught in the process of ventures moving over this and that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's amazing.
Missy
look, you remember when we got down there? Yeah, we sung for Missy.
Missy answered the door.
We was singing. We was singing for Stevie J, right? Before we went in the studio, we was singing for Stevie J, and KC came outside. So we sung one of their songs actually. I'm in need of love. And then by that time, one of their security guards came out, was like, yo, these same bros that was in the party the other day, these bros ain't giving up no cootie or whatnot. And I'm like, man, I think he ended up calling one of our sisters a B or something. I'm like, man, you in Rochester, don't call my sister no B. And KC came out and was like kind of squashing the y'all was hot. You know what I'm saying? That time, during that time, that's when we kind of sort of got affiliated with Dalvin and Stevie J. So we sort of, getting in a mix and a vibe with them. And Devante ended up hearing us during that time. But he was like, he ain't paid no attention. You know how somebody just come around and listening to people and see what's putting stuff out. And then we ended up getting close with Boogie, Bizarre Royale. And Bizarre Royale at the same time was like telling Devante, like, look, man, you need to take a chance and listen to this group, man. It's a top group coming out of Rochester. There's 4 of them, man. They real dope. You know what I mean? So another day after that, in the future, Devante called us down. Devante wanted to actually hear us sing, and I can remember we walked in the studio. It was Daryl Pearson, Timberland, and we walked in the conference room. Marcus in the kitchen. It was Timberland. It was all the producers, SMK, all the producers on the label, and we sung. I mean, when I say we sung, we had them jumping all over the table. They like, yo, these boys hot. So from there, Devante asked us, okay, do y'all want to get down in the basement? And he went to Playa because, you know, Keep It Real was supposed to be initially us and Playa. So we was going to do a record with Playa. You know, Playa was kind of the group that made us, you know, own our talent because we always thought they was dope, you know what I mean? And we formed a little brother relationship with them. You know what I'm saying? But we always looked it up to them. They made us actually want to own our thing because that was the first when we started hearing these cats. We were like, oh, well, we got to step it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, So by that time, Devante heard us sing, and basically he was like, yo, I want to, you know, he stepped to our parents and like, I want to put y'all in and what I got going on. And ever since then, we just became family. And that's when, you know, we was the youngins, we was the kids, so they used to call us the little wild monkeys at the time. And we was the kids of the kids, you know what I mean? So we was the babies of the whole thing. So eventually we just started getting tight with everybody and just recording and just being in the studio. And from that, it just became a family thing.
Wow, that's amazing. So Marcus, let me ask you this, because Rochester, it's not New York City. It's kind of out of nowhere pretty much for a lot of people that live in New York City. Like, how did you guys even know that Jodeci was in town, and were you guys aware of what was going on down there with the Basement prior to meeting them?
Well, we started seeing like all type of different cars, like Lamborghinis and all type of bikes. I never seen a Lamborghini Hummer truck. This is like 1994, and we in high school. And then, you know, Galvin and Stevie J and all of them, they started going like to Irondequoit Mall, a couple of malls, and people started seeing them. And we was the type of people, we would just rehearse every day, and then people would get back to us like, yo, y'all know Jodeci here? And then a couple of people that we know that was producers from here was also sharing the studio down there with them, and they would be like, yo, we're going to take y'all to meet them. Really, they was just capping. They was trying to get their own self on, but eventually we found our way in there. And then, like I said, the first time we got there, Missy opened the door for us, and you start seeing everybody walking around. We actually sung for her. We sung one of our original songs, then we sung a Jodeci song. She was like, y'all should sing your original song. That's tighter.
Yep, Missy did tell us to sing our original song. The funny thing
is, the reason how we got hooked up with Devante is because, like, this is what he said to us. I just lost the group. I need another group. And he was talking about Sister. That's when, you know what I'm saying, Missy and them had kind of went on their way, and it was like, y'all going to be like their replacement. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then he was like, cool. You got to get cool with. We had already knew, like, Genuine and Boogie, right. But he was like, if y'all going to be down with me, y'all got to get cool with Playa. Yeah. So that's when we started hanging out with Black a lot, and, like, Static and JD. So more Black, because Black like more of a people person, you know what I'm saying? He always down to hang out.
Nice. That's super cool.
Yeah, so basically met like Sugar, Rolita, them, and everybody.
Yeah, that's cool. What year was that around when you guys entered the Basement? Was that 94, 95?
94. Whatever year it was when San Francisco played the Chargers in the
it was like 94. 94, because we were still in high school. I remember us getting down, and Devante actually let me wear his chain to school. Remember, we went to the Edison game. We were still in high school. We didn't graduate till 96, but we was actually still high school. And I remember everybody got mad because D actually just gave me his chain, and I went and walked to the regular high school. I got like a $400,000 chain on my neck. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of love he had for us once we got down. So, yeah. So it was like, I want to say at least 94, 95-ish.
Wow, that's crazy. And then when you guys get to the Basement, like, you step into the studio, you see pretty much legends today, Timbaland, Missy, Genuine, Playa, Sweet, they're all there. Like, what was your first impression of the talent that they had at that time? Because, I mean, you guys come in, like you said, straight out of high school. these guys are honing their craft. They've been with Devante for a couple of years now. Like, what was your first impression of just the talent there?
It was just like mesmerizing. It was just like, because nobody had heard that sound. So you going in the studio, you going in a big studio, you hearing beats and like sounds that you never would even dream could be together. And then you see they got like a different flow. It's kind of southern, but still it's kind of like northernish, and it's like, oh my God, the rat-a-tat-tat and all them beats like that. We like, oh my God! I feel like we was like some of the first people in the world to get to hear that coming off of, you know what I'm saying? Not really hearing anything like that. So it was just like, first of all, we like, oh, we got to practice some more. And mind you, we would practice every day. It's like, we ain't tight enough, man. Then everybody was so creative, writing. Everybody was writing. You could see them like battling, writing, and like, dang, who wrote that? I wrote this. And then you'll have like JB on the piano. I could play the drums, but nobody else in my group played no instruments. I'm like, man, we not as tight as we think we is, but it definitely brought like a competitive vibe. Like, yo, we got to step up. We got to bring something to the table type vibe. You know what I'm saying? And then Devante, you walk in, like, you see a big black pit bull, like a movie scene, the door open, a big black pit bull will come in, and Dia come in. You hear his chains and his jewelry, like he just chilling. Like the door open, you see smoke, you see a pit bull, you see a bodyguard, and you see me.
Wow, that's incredible.
It definitely, just being around that definitely made us have to own our talent. Like, we all come from musical families, and we, like I said, we grew up out the church too, and we all come out the church homes, and we was always in the practicing, but coming around and all that talent, it made us get more creative, and we really had to own our talent. It made us have to dig in to be like, all right, we want to be down with the best of the best. Guess what? We got to put in that work. You know what I mean? So meeting them actually changed our whole work ethic. You know what I mean? When it came to the studio and stuff like that. And
then it was crazy because it's like the way the studio was made. It was like a live room. You come in, you got the lobby. You go in a long hallway, which is Studio A, where Devante would be. You got the live room and the lounge in the back, and then you go downstairs. It's like a cave, like another little lounge or whatever. Then you got Studio B where Timberland was. So you can literally go upstairs, hear something you never heard before, come out, go downstairs, hear another beat from Timberland that you never heard before, go back in the lounge, somebody's on the piano writing something, or we just harmonizing with somebody. It didn't really matter at that point. You'd be like us and Player harmonizing, Sugar, you know what I'm saying? Everybody just like, it was just like a whole music culture. It was like, I mean, definitely felt like college.
Yeah, that's one thing Magoo said as well. I talked to him last year, and he said it was exactly that. It was like music college, and you guys would be able to learn from one another. If you didn't know how to do something, someone was always willing to teach you. Like, just talk about that environment. Like what was it like just having so much talent and being able to learn from these guys? Like, do you remember what those studio sessions were like?
I would say it was definitely like rehearsal. I remember when we first started getting in, Devante was like, well, y'all record with Reggie, you know what I mean? Reggie developed more and Armani, right? So those became until we got the chance to really work with D, we went and started prepping just doing songs with Reggie and Armani, and that's where we came up with Sneak On, and we did what It's Because of You, Marcus? With Reggie?
Actually, Devante, we wasn't even allowed to record in the studio days on that first. The first time we recorded was at Reggie House. We did It's Because of You, and then that got back to Devante, and Devante and them, they was bumping in at the studio, and they came in, it was like, oh, y'all tight. Then the next time, the whole basement, if you wasn't from Rochester, you stayed in this big apartment building on Andrew Street. Devante had an apartment there, Player, Sugar, everybody, Timberland, Magoo, they basically lived at the studio, but they wanted to come shower or something, change their clothes, they stayed there. So we went and was recording with Armani. He had the beat up. Then, just like I said, like a movie scene, you see the dog, you see the smoke, then D come in there. He listening to the beat. It's like our first time, like, sitting down with him, like, working. He just wrote the hook. He wrote a hook for us real quick. And then that was it. Like, oh, we sing this, and that was like our first little song we did with Devante, but it wasn't even in the studio. It was at one of his apartments. We had to work our way up to start recording at the studio. And then
wow.
as far as that, like, since we got in the studio vibe, it's just getting used to that sound, and then listening for different type of jazz notes in your harmony, sort of like, you know what I'm saying, like Jodeci, and you know what I'm saying, like play it, just like a different way to look at music. You got to train your ear differently. And then I can even remember, like, down the line, like, you know what I'm saying, Devante, I'm getting on the drums, and then, like, we in the studio, and Devante, he could see me through the glass of the studio and the drums, but he couldn't hear me, so eventually, because the lounge was also a live room, if you did loud recording, but it had a big drum set up. I'm just playing around back there, and then he came back in there and was like, keep doing what you're doing with that snare. Hit the snare and the cymbal at the same time. Hit the snare and the kick and the cymbal at the same time.
That's when he started tweaking all the sound, drum
yeah,
sound.
he started recording me, and then I got a chance to see how, like, he was literally spending like an hour on one snare just tweaking the sound. He recorded me, like, doing so many different drum things, and then like a couple months later, I got a check from Dev Channel. I think he put a couple of the sounds on the Marcel Jordan song for my drums, like that came out of nowhere. But just like the work ethic, you definitely got to see that. Like, he is upset.
Right. I also reaffirmed, like, we
they
was
are upset.
Yeah, because when we first got down, it was like a third at the beginning of the split too. Like, we was around Timberland and them, and then one day they was just like all gone. Everybody was just chilling like family, and then everybody just disappeared. And I remember Devante just calling us up to New York, and we just got on the plane. As soon as we got off the plane, we went and sung for Russell Simmons. Like, made his A&R cry. Like, his assistant really sat there and was like, Russell, if you don't sign these boys, I quit. Like, that's what she told Russell Simmons in tears. This is the first time, like, we actually were singing, and, like, the woman, she literally just started crying. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was, like, we moved her that much. And the last thing you know, that's when the Love You Down soundtrack, because we wanted to know, I'm pretty sure Devante wanted to let people know where that hopping sound come from. So that's why Love You Down came out before Pony. If you really look at the time, it kind of hit.
Yeah.
It was already on
that was
before
Genuine,
Pony
the original song. That song was originally from Genuine, right?
Yeah, Lay You Down before they. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because that's one of the biggest questions that a lot of people have. I've actually talked to Genuine about it, and he did say that he recorded that first, but I guess once he left, Devante put a new singer on that song.
Yep, our boy LB.
Okay.
Yep.
It
was like a couple, like, it was like a different I know it was like the original Bassment, which we came in at the tail end, but then we branched off and had some like newbies.
Yeah.
It became a second wave of Bassment artists.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Right
a lot
after
of
that,
I mean, people too.
You got to have, Sugar. Sugar was actually the senior group. That's when Sugar stepped to the top. They was seniority, and right under Sugar was us. That's when we kind of stepped up. Like a lot of, like I said, Russell Simmons, but because Player had seniority over us, that's how they end up getting the Def Jam deal. Because Devante was like, yo, I've been down with them. He couldn't do them just any kind of way. Even though Russell Simmons, that deal, they wanted Black and Wild. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. But, and I can understand that position kind of Devante was in. So Player ended up getting that Def Jam deal. And we end up moving with Interscope like a couple years later. You know what I mean? But.
Yeah, but Devante asked me,
man.
like, do y'all want to deal, or do y'all want to be my group? And we chose to be his group.
What's going on, fellas? This is Willis, man. My bad, I'm late.
What's going on?
What's going on?
This is Willis. This is the reason why we kind of met them. I ain't gonna lie. I already told him, Willie D.
Right.
That's amazing.
So then what?
About how he asked how we met them. I said, you know what I'm saying? I told him the story about the Quetta. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we passed that part, Willie D. So you got to catch up to where we at so we can keep the interview. But we pretty much told how we got down. which they had a party and only invited females. So we sent a bunch of females with our demo, and the one that got us DJ and telling them that my little brothers and them, they can blow. And that was pretty much the initiation of us ever really getting down and around the basement up to today. Well, it's just to update you.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Appreciate that. Well, guys, let me backtrack here because I do want to talk about some of that music that you guys recorded as well. But when you guys were in the basement, because I talked to Genuine about it, he said that Pony was recorded and made during the Basement era. Were you guys around for that at that time, or was that before you guys joined?
Yeah, it was just different because I think Devante owned like those reels that it was on. So when they left, they had to re-record it. But I know Static had wrote it.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to ask was like you guys mentioned, when everybody left, they all ended up being stars, and rightfully so because they're really talented. But like for you guys, when you saw your friends and they were blowing up and you guys were still in grind mode, like how did you guys maintain the focus and not get discouraged from that?
At that time, to me, it's like we kind of, when you come, we see them blow up, grinding. We was just grinding together yesterday, and then we hear Pony out on the radio. That just made us feel like our time was coming up next. So let's stay focused to what we doing and get in the studio and work.
And that time, Missy
make our
was
work just as dope.
Missy
you know what I'm trying to say?
Missy was
so
all over the radio.
Want to grind more because that made us believable. Like, dang, we see this really coming to life. Genuine out on the radio. You know what I'm saying? We was just hanging with Genuine. You know what I mean? He out on the radio right now.
To me,
you know what I mean? Black
to add on to,
you know what I'm trying to say? So that just made us stay again, wanted to keep owning our craft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me, too, it was, to add on to that, I feel like I was around, like, the music Devante was producing that the world never hear was so amazing. It was amazing. And I always had belief in it. You know, he was making some hits that
even
like
though
a lot of the world
was killing people,
never hear.
Yeah, even though Timberland was like amazing people with his beats, we felt like, I know personally, like Devante beats was like more superior to his because Timberland was more beat based, but Devante still had the same beats, but he had his ear and he can play. He's very musical with his beats. So like some of the stuff you hear, he'll make like 20 beats in like 20 minutes. And just going. Because he already tweaked all his sounds for so long, and he just would come up with stuff so quick. We like, yeah, that Missy song hot, but listen to this beat right now. This beat is hotter. Let's make something hotter. You know what I'm saying? That's where our mind was.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, so let's talk about that second wave of the Basement crew. You know, the original members, they go on ahead and they have a lot of success. Like, what was that second wave like? And that time, because like I said, some members had already left, but you guys are there. You guys are still grinding, working with Devante. Sugar's still there. Like, what was that time period like?
Basically, it was really like us and Sugar and the Gutter Love clique that produced Keeping It Real. He produced Keeping It Real for us, but it was really like us and Sugar, and
it was a couple of groups from the West Coast, the Twins.
You had the Twins. You had LB. You had the Circle, Marco Polo. You had Snake Eyes. That's when Boogie had his own group. You forget Boogie was still there too. So Boogie really had a lot of seniority too. So Boogie had formed his own rap group called Freeze. You know what I'm saying? Which, let's not forget about Bizarre Boogie. Boogie was still there, but he was a senior role. But Boogie became like a little A&R, a little management for us. You know what I'm trying to say? Boogie actually helped us get through a lot of the grind too, and that's when we became like real close with him. But he performs his rap group too. You know, you got Freeze, that's Mr. Brendo. Mr. Brendo was there too. Not like Mr. Brendo Snake. You had Pretty Boy Floyd. You had Marco Polo. You had LB Jaheim. You had us. You had Wildflower, Coco. I mean, it was a phase of talent here.
Montana.
Like, one thing I can't say.
Wasn't that like C-Dub, Devante, bodyguard artist? He had a whole bunch of West Coast artists. It was like
the new wave was all real, man. We was a bunch of fighters. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? The new wave was like really gutter, hard, real, but just straight raw talent. You know what I mean?
It was more hip hop though. It was more hip hop than R&B. It was just us and Sugar singing, really. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's kind of what. That's kind of what I was meaning when I said us and Sugar.
Hey, and now that I think about it, to really make a legit answer to the question, I want to say that the new era of the Bassment became the solvent for the East and West Coast beef. Like, if the labels was really listening to Devante, really at that point, we was the mediation to the East Coast and the West Coast beef. You know, Devante being in the middle of like kind of both sides. If they would have like listened to the label and let him do what he want to do, like I feel like all that beef would have calmed down a little bit, and we would have brought back the love of real music. So to answer your question, during that time, the second phase and the new phase of the Bassment, we became the love, like, you know what I'm trying to say? And I really feel like at that time again, we was the mediation and the meteor for that whole East West Coast beef.
That's awesome. Was the second wave still in Rochester, or did you guys move?
Nah, we was in Manhattan, and then we moved down to Charlotte.
Then we moved to St. Louis. Then we moved back to Long Island.
we went from Manhattan to Charlotte, and that's when we ended up messing with like Natron Means Andre Coleman, because they had just won the Super Bowl. And then from Charlotte we moved to St. Louis. From St. Louis we moved back to New York, Long Island.
Gotcha. So, I mean, just talk about that second wave then, because like that was around the same time Devante sort of like, he wasn't producing as much for mainstream acts. Was his focus primarily on you guys then? Is that why we didn't hear a lot of Devante production at that time?
Sure. To be honest with you, I felt like personally, like D was kind of hurt. You know what I'm saying? Now, then you look back at, because you know what I'm saying, his artists, people who he paid, who he fed and clothed, you know what I'm saying, they kind of like left, and then it's like they blowing up, and then they all got separate deals, but he was trying to make it so everybody have one deal. So it was like he had to regroup. It was just like he was. I mean, if that happened to you, you'd be scared to trust people too, because some people was like, "Yo."
Yeah, I feel you, Mark. It's like a lot of disloyalty. So that was we did watch Devante go through like kind of hurt and just like disloyalty, probably not trusting people. You really always thinking about, you know, he got robbed before, so that's when Devante really went like closed in. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
He was around the time that's when he kind of started closing himself into, like, I call him the king of quarantine. I mess with him and I was like, Devante, you've been the king of quarantine. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's when he started trying to, you know, and it could be a lot of it. He never really like work. That's work with a lot of people. He just wanted to stay reinventing himself, and that's what he is. A lot of people really don't understand that. All he been doing is just reinventing himself. You know what I'm saying? Reinventing.
Right. Awesome. So, guys, let's talk about some of that music you guys created. Like, I was on YouTube not too long ago, and I saw that you guys had a version of Body Parts, and that song ended up on Jodeci's last album. Like, just talk about the origins of that song. Like, how did that all happen?
That was a beat that we had heard in, like, 1995, and we always said, Devante, we want that beat. Like, when we first got with him, he played that beat. We like, yo, we want that beat. We will always talk to him about that beat, and then honestly, when we finally got to record it so many years later, we were surprised he still had it. He just put it up. We're like, oh, this is our beat. And you know what I'm saying? Then we recorded it.
That beat was actually that beat was actually on a Universal album. We was actually signed to Universal album through Cav Live, same label as Nelly. When Nellyville, Nellyville album came out, we was signed up. We was Nelly brother. He was our brother on that label, and so we asked Devante to come in and produce half of the album. So we did like 4 or 5. He did produce half of the album, and Body Parts was one of that song. So we got all the way to our video getting ready to come out. They had already started leaking.
He put up Body Parts, and we went and got our pens. We was getting ready to write something, but he just wrote something. He just wrote it, and you know, we took his lead on that, and it came out hot what he wrote. So
and we had a certain way of recording it, because everyone, like, the thing that made our group different, like, every one of us is a lead singer. Every one of us. So when you hear body parts, every part you hear when it be like, I want to be alone with you, girl, that's Enoch singing all the background right there. Then it's like licking on your body. That's Willis singing all that background right there. Then I come in with gripping on me, baby, like you gripping that Bacardi. That's all me. So if we'd have did the video, it'd have been like 4 Enoch. Then it flashed to 4 Willises. Then it flashed to 4 me's. And it flashed to 4 Afros. Because, you know what I'm saying, we were trying to display like, yo, we all is like a group to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Because we all got strong lead voices.
Right.
So that's what makes that song unique. So when you hear it, just think about every part you're hearing that's in harmony. That's just that one person singing all the notes. Then it's going to the next person singing all the notes.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean,
and then like even when we doing the verses, we going back to back, back and forth. You know what I'm saying? We passing it off to the next one. We passing it off to the next one. It's just like displaying all our different vocal skills. That's
amazing. I mean, just talk about, you know, you mentioned this was around 2001, 2002. That's when Nelly came out. You know, were you guys still, quote unquote, under the basement at that time, or was that situation over by then? Like, when did you guys officially leave that second wave?
Well,
we was kind of, that situation was kind of over, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's like because
we had heard that beat in like 95, and then we didn't record it till like 2001.
Right.
So we always wanted that beat.
When we went to L.A.
Right. We ended up getting coming in through Soul Life, which was Anthony Hamilton, right up under Sunshine Anderson. They had a Soul Life deal and a Soul Life movement over at Atlantic, and immediately we became
But everything is still tied to me because we had met Mark Sparks through Devante in our basement days. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what
he was like one of the basement producers. You might as well say he was producing with Devante. And you know, Mark Sparks, he got the Grammy for Shoop and all that salt and pepper stuff. And they put out Sunshine Anderson. They put out, like you said, Anthony Hamilton. So we had been through it.
As a lot of the artists that Devante had, even when it comes down to Timbaland, Missy, Player, it wasn't too many groups that was really signed to him. You know what I'm trying to say? Black and Wild Sugar, we was just actually one of the groups that was actually really signed to Devante or had real contracts with Devante. So when we kind of broke off, whatever we did to get money, we was always like, yeah, Devante, let's get this money. You know what I'm trying to say? Devante, we even overcharged the label, going to give us money on the back end. Yeah. He was always teaching us business, how to stay ahead of the game. Like, and I think,
matter of fact,
he was teaching us patience.
When we was in L.A. recording our album, we ran into this girl, and how that story went, how we even got back with Devante in L.A.
We were still already was out there.
We knew he already knew he was out there. We was already knew he was out there.
I guess Devante
there actually, you know what I'm saying? Mark Sparks went to Devante like, yo, can I bring the boys out here? Because, you know what I'm saying, it's still a code. Like, everybody knew we was his group.
That's exactly how it went. So that's what I'm trying to say. That's why he came in producing half of the album off gate. So we ended up running to people that knew him, and people that knew him, and we just out in L.A., we just pretty much got right back to work from the second phase of the Basement. When we ran into D again, we pretty much just got back to work. We was out, Devante let us drive his cars more than him. Like, when we was out in L.A. the whole time, we was driving his cars around. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was like, hey,
the only difference was we wasn't living in the same house with Devante. He wasn't feeding us and clothing us. We was clothing and feeding ourselves, but he still was kind of pulling the strings, you know what I'm saying? Because at that time we had we had went from being like 17 to 18 to being like 21, 22. You know what I'm saying? We was a little bit grown. But he's always been in the mix. Might as well say.
Wow. That's amazing.
I just talked to him the other day.
Wow, amazing. So, I mean, I don't want to jump here, but I just want to fast forward here. 2008, Static passes away, unfortunately, and I've had a chance to talk to Devante, and I know it hit him hard. How did it hit you guys? Because like you guys were close with Static as well, whole group play. Like, where were you guys when Static passed?
Man, we was just like, for real, we had just hooked back up with Static. Like, when we was out doing the Universal album, the same album, we had Jawan came to the studio, and we was like, Jawan, man, we need some records from y'all. So we had just re-hooked back up with Static after all them years, and we was actually just getting, you know, me and Static exchanged numbers, and we was like, Static, we need you to come write a couple songs for us. So when that happened, he was actually just in the mix of getting ready to do a couple songs with. It was like just wow, you know what I mean? Just like Los Angeles, like a diamond fell out the sky, you know, during that time. So it just hit, like, you know, because we was actually getting ready to do some other songs with him, through the universe.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, so you know, we fast forward now. You guys are still a group, which is amazing. A lot of groups don't really stick together for as long as you guys have. Like, what's been the key to that?
I think
our parents.
You're right. I would give
where we was brought
exactly.
up. Yeah. I mean, it's been opportunities. We probably had to all do our own thing, but you know what I'm saying? We wasn't like raised like that. You know how New Edition, Ralph Tresvant, they wanted him to go solo, and we was like, yeah, we don't get down like that where I'm from. We just don't get down like that where we from. Either we're gonna be famous together or we're gonna do nothing together. That's the mentality we got.
Wow. So, you know, we're in 2020. I mean, we're in 2020 now. You know, music industry has changed a lot, and what's cool, you know, like you said, you guys are still tight with Devante. You know, what can we expect in the future from the group? Are you guys putting out new music? Are you guys working with Devante again? Like, what's the plan?
Oh yeah, definitely. We actually just in the studio in the process of songs that I think we got a real good one, a real big record that'll be real live for us. So right now we just want to get another photo shoot done and get some marketing.
We literally got so many songs. But we got
like 3-4 albums already to hand in, like already. Like, so whenever we do get a deal, we got 4 albums done right now, ready in the crates, ready to go. A lot of them master mix. Few of them probably need a few different touches. So, and then you know, me and Marcus started our own movie company, so we kind of got like on the business side, just doing different avenues of different things, opening up different branches, and we trying to come out and get this Bassment buyout closed. You know what I mean? We're trying to get that closed right now. We're working on a few different things when it comes to our life story, because even like a lot of people laugh at us when we tell them that like Biggie Smalls would be alive if he was in the studio with us. Like, we had the opportunity where Biggie is paying for a session. Devante doing the beat. We recorded for Biggie. We was getting ready to do a song with Biggie, one of the best Biggie songs that would have been dope for us in our life. People laugh at me when I say that, but it's a real life true story. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
So we just wanted to, like, one thing about us, we never really burnt bridges. We always stayed connected. Like, it was never us with the labels. We always wanted to stay fresh to what we doing, and we never burn no bridges. That's why I'm still tight with Flo Rida. That's why I'm still cool with Anthony Helman and Sunshine and everybody that we work with. We still got good relationships with, and everybody we work with. No, we come in the studio. When we come in the studio, we mean business, point blank. We Black and Wild.
Wow.
We want a hot record. We gonna come in and do the record. So definitely, we still tight with Devante. We working on these different movie situations, and you know, back then they didn't have the streams, all these streams and different platforms. We didn't have those back in the day. So now we getting ready to come and to what's going on right in the generator. Don't keep.
Nice. I mean, you talked about this basement bio that you guys are doing. Can you just talk a little bit about what we can expect from that?
Well, pretty much it's just Devante's life. We wanted to do it and set it up. My vision of it was to set it up and pretty much like the Don Cornelius story, but you have Devante narrating it, and then we can set it up and do it in a series where it just break off into the different groups' lives. But it's coming from his narration, his point of view.
Wow.
The things that it's narrating the whole movie, but it's gonna break off in a different series. Like 1 and 2 could be about sugar. You know what I'm saying? 1, 2, 3. The first series would be about sugar. Then the next 2 series will probably have us in it. Then it'll branch off into LB and the different artists that's still affiliated. So right now we actually just trying to close the situation, put things together. So it's going down. You know what I mean? I don't know where as far as the people we dealing with, we just want to keep it moving, but it's definitely going down, and we putting these things in the works as we speak right now. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'll be on the phone with D he actually knows about this page, and I'm on the phone with D constantly, at least once a week. We keeping the strategies together, and putting the financing together.
Yeah, that's amazing because for us, we're more than happy to support everything you have going on, because I feel like you're doing the right thing. You're doing what we want to do as well, and that's highlight Devante and all that he's brought to the table for R&B, for music in general. And it's just a beautiful thing that you guys are doing, and just a history, and just to hear about you guys, and just to see that you guys have grinded it out. You guys have stayed together for a long time now. A lot of groups have broken up. You guys are still together, still working together. It's admirable, and I got to give you guys so much props for that.
We're more like brothers than anything. I think that's one of the reasons. And Devante, man, I want to go on the record as saying is that, man, he if it weren't for Devante, he had a major part to do with our musical styles and our group. And even though we never came out with him, we learned a lot from him, and we're just grateful that he taught us a lot in the music business, and we had an ear for music too, and he just expounded on that ear that we had. So, I just want to go on record and say that Black and Wild appreciate Devante for everything that he did,
Wow. That's a beautiful thing, guys. And before we get out of here, just because we're almost out of time here, but is there anything that you guys would like to add? Anything that we may have missed out on earlier?
We just gonna save that for the movie. You know what I'm saying? For the documentary. We got some stories. We got some Mike Tyson, Suge Knight, Haitian Jack, Gangster, Tupac, whatever. We got all. We got the experience with the real '90s. You know what I'm saying? We right in there. We was behind the curtain, that's behind the curtain, but we were still there. You know what I'm saying? We got
right. Also, thing I want to add, D has always been a big brother. I think, even one thing I learned from him is just, I used to be always the one sitting around, trying to press buttons and see what he was doing and just learning. D was trying to get us. You got to think that the birth of the label, he birthed that. Master P was probably one of the first ones to actually really do it, but the actual label was birthed from his brain. You know what I mean? I believe Bad Boy was supposed to have been Devante's and Puffy's, you know what I'm saying? So he was always a step ahead of the game, you know what I mean? So it was we went, like Boogie said, we went to college for free, man. So stuff like that we could never really take for granted, and like I said, we still tight, nothing but love, man. He's like a big brother as well as a mentor to us. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?